As a football coach, I actually kind of agree with this, and I know that might be controversial for a lot of football coaches to say, but when you're at an age where your body's not fully developed and we don't know who is coaching the kids, tackling can be super dangerous, regardless of the equipment that's being issued.
You do need to learn tackling form before you're like a 200-pound adult flying around. You could hurt someone with terrible tackling form. But I think 12 is not too late. I also don't think it's necessarily too early.
And honestly, if you look at the research, like the Concussion Legacy Foundation recommends at least waiting until 14 years old. Plus, let's not forget that flag football, by the way, is coming to the Olympics in 2028. So just have them play flag football until they're ready to tackle, until it's actually safe to do so. I actually like this.
What do you guys think? Should we ban youth tackle football? Let us know in the comments. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Season 2 of FanBuzz Weekly. I'm Tyler, joined alongside Will and Patrick, breaking down the biggest stories, hottest takes in sports. Of course, it might be a little dark in my background. I think that's just because I'm in mourning with the Green Bay Packers losing in devastating fashion to the San Francisco 49ers. Will is a bit of a Bears fan, so I know he's happy he's taking a victory lap. For me, I just wanted to bring up the topic before we get into everything else, because I am still thrilled about how the season went. I did not expect the Packers to go as far as they did. And in my opinion, I think they found their quarterback for the future. Jordan Love, to me, has looked every bit like a franchise quarterback. I can't believe the Packers got a third one in a row. This does not make sense to me. Why don't I just ask Will, because I know he's going to be a bit of a hater, but does he think that the Packers have found that next guy?
Yeah, Love looks crazy, and he was due for a bit of regression after that 21 touchdown to 1 interception streak, and we saw it. I mean, he threw a terrible game-losing pick, but we're talking about a young guy on the road against one of the best teams of this era in the NFC. Yeah, Love is definitely the guy. He can at least get them on top of the North the way they were. I don't know about this whole NFC picture with the Niners continuing to be strong and the powers out East, but yeah, I think they're not going to miss a beat. This was just their off year, and they still made a divisional game, but this is the heritage. This is football heritage, as they say. It's the Packers losing to the Niners every single January. Against everyone else, though, yeah, I think Love can be the guy.
It is a rite of passage for Packers quarterbacks to suffer devastating playoff losses.
Yeah, I think you're actually supposed to whip the Cowboys and then lose to the Niners. I think that's the actual procedure.
Yeah, correct.
Well, didn't you call this? Didn't you say he was due for regression? And here it was.
Yeah, FTP, man, fade the Packers.
I gotta say this: does anyone have it better than Packers fans?
Oh, absolutely not.
Y'all just go to the well, get another franchise quarterback, and now you can kind of look ahead to next season with all the hope in the world. While every other quarterback in the league is being exposed as a fraud. Like, screw you guys, honestly.
I think my favorite thing is when people come at me like, "Well, you guys have only won 2 Super Bowls with 2 quarterbacks." I'm like, yeah. It's really hard to win Super Bowls, especially in an era with Tom Brady, and now you got Mahomes.
I was going to say, as a Patriots fan, I don't actually think it's that hard to win Super Bowls. I think you're supposed to do it like every other year when you have your guy.
It's such a fun feeling just to be in it every year, and like, I'll be honest, I was pretty gutted after the way they lost, but like 12 hours later, it felt fine. It's just like, they shouldn't have even been there. They had the youngest team in the NFL playoffs since 1974, and I believe it's the youngest team to ever win a playoff game. I could be wrong on that second part, but just an unbelievable season. I cannot wait to see what happens with this offense. They've got, I think, 5 picks in the top 100. That 5th one might be just outside of it, but just loaded with draft capital. The cap situation is much more manageable now that Aaron Rodgers is out of there. I don't know what to do with David Bakhtiari, but that's a whole other conversation. Instead of IU talk, I just had to get some Packers talk in to start this show. But obviously coming up, we have quite a bit to talk about. We are going to talk about potentially maybe the death of Alabama football now that Nick Saban's gone. A lot of changes happening there. And then obviously we got to get into the conference championships in the NFL. Chiefs versus Ravens. Is Lamar Jackson going to choke in the playoffs again, or is he going to have another performance like he did last week? And then we got probably the more, they're both exciting matchups. I don't know, but this Dan Campbell, DC, MC DC story, the Lions against the 49ers, who are our Super Bowl picks. And then we'll finish off with taking the over. And did you see this? We got to keep talking about this because it's been a crazy couple weeks for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Unexpected Nick Saban retirement, a very quick coaching search to find Kalen DeBoer for Washington. And then all of a sudden, Patrick did a great video of this on our FanBuzz Instagram, so take a look at it. But just about this mass exodus of transfers. So we just got to ask about it. Patrick, since you did the video, what are your thoughts about Alabama? Is this the beginning of the end for like one of the greatest programs in college football? What's going on?
I'm going to say this. Like, Nick Saban did not leave him in a great position. And that's because the transfer portal window opening really screws him, because the only players in the transfer portal right now are Alabama players. So Alabama can only stand to like either have them return or like lose them. So they can't even gain any players right now. And I think the number of transfers from Alabama is close to 30-ish. Some of those are before Saban. But like, that is tough for Kalen DeBoer. But here's the thing. I don't think they're dead. And I think when you look at the 12-team playoff format, like, they still have Jalen Milroe. And he's one of the best athletes in college football leading that team. I think they're going to have to like retool a little bit. They still have talent on the team. I think there is a little bit of overreaction because you look at Ohio State, who's nabbing like Caleb Downs and Julian Sayin, that freshman, the top-rated guy. Texas got Isaiah Bond, I think the tight end. Florida State has had like 5 or 6 from Alabama. So it's tough because some of the other like blue blood programs are gaining some of this talent, while Alabama is just like, well, goodbye. But I don't think it's necessarily over, but they have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I don't know if there is an over for Alabama or a death. It's a blip for me. This is going to be a tough period, but Alabama will be back always. They're one of the 7 true blue bloods. And yeah, I do mean that as a specific slight to several programs like Penn State and Nebraska. But we can get into that more later. That being said, I don't know if you can leave a program in a great position unless you have a successor set up. Because like, it's not like Saban left them with a bad roster. Back in the day, leaving a team in the bad position would mean you didn't recruit well. You're coming off a bad year. But Alabama's coming off a fine year, fine roster, quarterback intact. But in this day and age, if you leave, your players can leave. So it's not, I don't think it's really Saban's fault. I think if there is a guy to get them back to winning fast, it's Kalen, because that's just like kind of his thing. Even though Tyler promised we'd go an episode without Hoosier talk, here we are again. Another Indiana product. But yeah, I don't think this is Alabama's year. I think the way they're priced in the futures market still is kind of crazy. Like, they're viewed as one of the contenders in a way that I don't think they should be. But they will be back. It won't be this year, but they will be back.
That's a really good point about the transfer portal and the impact, especially because this happened so late, where all these other teams that weren't competing for a national title are basically already dealing with the transfer portal so far ahead. It becomes such a difficult situation. The Caleb Downs departure, to me, I've been watching Alabama defensive film this week, and just seeing Downs' impact on that defense really hurts. Now, Malachi Moore coming back, I am pretty excited about that. Yeah, I think he was a heck of a player, very fun to watch. But losing an impact freshman like Downs, losing a top-ranked quarterback like Sayin, it just stinks. But I think in this era of college football, things can change so fast. I wouldn't say it's the death. It's going to be a rough year. I do think a lot of the reasons Alabama came together and turned the season around wasn't really as much of the talent as it was coaching. I thought the coaches coached their tails off with a team that wasn't as talented as usual Alabama teams. To go from that to losing as many players they are, I think it is going to be a rough year. I'm going to say it right now. I don't think they even make it into the 12-team playoff. I think with the expansion of the SEC, I think there's just too many talented teams in that conference. And yeah, if 2, 3, 4 may get in, it's going to be tough for Alabama this year. Again, I think that can change really quickly after this season. I think they can get a huge influx of transfer talent, recruiting, and all of that. But it is going to be rough. And I'm not sure Jalen Milroe's the guy. I love the tools, but man, there are some moments it is rough from him from a quarterback perspective. And if that's the guy that you're trying to hang in your hat on and that he's coming back, it's hard to sell me on this Alabama team without Nick Saban. And also, a little note I saw this morning, but Tommy Rees is kind of sniffing around the NFL. He seemed to do a pretty dang good job. I don't know if he leaves, but his departure could also be pretty impactful for this upcoming season.
I will say this, for the people that get mad at players leaving, in the transfer portal, or people who get mad about the transfer portal in general right now because it's so crazy, like, just remember that they committed to Nick Saban. Like, they wanted 100%. To play for Nick Saban. Like, and when coaches leave, do we get mad? No. So, like, these kids should have every right to leave, especially when, like, they wanted to play for the greatest coach ever. He retires. It's like, well, I mean, they don't know Kalen DeBoer. Why would they want to stay to him? Like, they should be allowed to do this. I just wanted to throw that in there.
It just seems so weird that these coaching searches in the NFL take months, it feels like. But in college football, it was I don't know if the program was expecting it, because that hire just came so fast and had no ties to Alabama, Was it a panic hire? I'm just a little thrown off. Like for Michigan, and I know Will wants to talk about Michigan, but like if Harbaugh leaves, Sharon Moore is the coach. Like it feels like they already have that succession plan in place. I'm just really surprised that Nick Saban didn't have something like this for a program that he's built up over the years. It's a very odd situation. Let's move and start with the AFC Championship. We've got Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. We've got Taylor Swift versus Kodak Black. We've got all kinds of interesting matchups in this one. Obviously going to be, all eyes on this. It's a battle of two of the greatest quarterbacks on the planet, gunslingers, mobile quarterbacks. Mahomes has been to 6 straight AFC title games. But this is brand new territory for Lamar, who's really struggled in the playoffs until this last week. So I'm curious, why don't we just go ahead and start with Lamar? Is the playoff choking thing a real thing, or do you think he finally has the right system, talent around him for him to thrive in a postseason environment?
I think he's good. I think he's set. This team is disgusting. It's kind of hard to fail with them. Honestly, kind of a lot of what I've said about Brock Purdy, except Lamar's actually a really high talent. The Ravens have had some dysfunction and injuries in years past. They've had some real shortcomings in the wide receiver room, and none of that is the case anymore. I think this is definitely a good situation for Lamar to compete even against a good Chiefs defense. They don't defend the run all that well. So between his running ability and the running backs of the Ravens' running ability, they can soften up the back end and give Lamar some chances to really hit some good passes.
And let's not forget the Ravens' defense, man.
Yeah.
Watching them fly around, dude, it is not. I mean, they might hold the Chiefs to like a couple scores, and then that's all it takes. But I will say that I'm kind of rooting for a Chiefs win here because I want the Swift Kelsey mania. I want Jason Kelsey up there shirtless, like chugging beers. Like I want all that in the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna lie, because is Kodak Black like the biggest fan for the Ravens? Like who do they have that can really generate some?
They got Stavi. They got Stavi, that big Greek comedian. If you've seen him, oh, you need to watch his videos. If you were watching this right now and you're okay with a little bit of raunchy humor. Go look up Stavi's Instagram and all of his Ravens reaction videos because they are iconic. They're so good.
Did you guys see the dude in the stands who looked just like MLK,
yes.
the Ravens fan? Like, is that their biggest notable fan right now? Like Taylor
It's
Swift.
Stavi. You got to get in on the Stavi train. You'll be so happy when you watch it. I'm telling you. The good point you made, the Ravens defense is just on fire right now. I mean, Kyle Hamilton being healthy, I cannot emphasize enough how much that helps Ravens defense because it gives them different looks. He's so versatile that it's hard to predict what the Ravens are going to do. And then you've got Roquan Smith. And if you want to watch something else, his mic'd up moments from this Texans game, I was scared. He is making tackles, and it doesn't matter like how far down the field it is. He's just thrilled that he made a tackle. And you can kind of get that vibe from the Texans, like, what is this guy on? I do not want to get hit by this guy. He's talking crap when CJ Stroud slides on 3rd down and doesn't move past the chains. Like, that is the most Ravens defense I've seen since, like, Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. To me, this team is winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
No, I'm just convinced, like, the path is absolutely there. Lamar is going to win his 2nd MVP. Todd Monken is such a better offensive coordinator than Greg Roman. And the unsung hero of that offense, Isaiah Likely, the Mark Andrews replacement. And again, Mark Andrews might even play. He is practicing. You've all of a sudden got 2 weapons at tight end. I'm just so excited for this team. Lamar is my all-time favorite college football player. I'm rooting very hard for him. And I do think the Chiefs are flawed. The defense is solid, but got exposed against Buffalo. The offense we've talked about all year has all kinds of problems. I just think on paper, I think Baltimore kicks the crap out of them. I'm expecting a blowout. What are your guys' predictions for the game?
Yeah, I've said this since August. The Ravens are the runaway best team in the league. And I've said all postseason that no one's going to come within 10 points of beating them. And that includes the Chiefs, especially in Baltimore. Mahomes' 2nd road playoff game. He passed with flying colors in the first. So all due respect, but that Chiefs defense is slightly fraudulent. It's better than units in years past, but when a team can run the football against the Chiefs, it really changes everything. And like you guys touched on, the Ravens defense is disgusting. Roquan Smith was my favorite Bear when he was there. I'm still sad about the trade as much as I love much of what Ryan Poles has done, trading away your young captain who wants to be a Bear. But I don't know. The Chiefs offense did look better against Buffalo than it has during the regular season. Credit to them for turning it on when it matters. But this unit, that Bills defense is good. This Ravens defense is crazy. Secondary questions aside, they're going to get heat on Mahomes more than Buffalo did. They're going to have way more covers for guys like Travis Kelce. I mean, in terms of big athletic defenders. Yeah, I don't want to call it a blowout because I'm never going to call a blowout against Pat Mahomes, but I don't think the Ravens will trail in this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to go against conventional wisdom. I'm going to go against the stats, the on-paper stuff. I'm picking Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the dude, what is it? He's been to the championship game every season that he's been a starter or something.
Yes.
It's like, first of all, that's absurd. But like, I think there's sort of an it factor about him that he just rises to the occasion in these playoff games, man. Like, I don't think it's going to be a blowout simply because of that. Like, I don't think he's going to let it get there. And you know what? I'll pick the Chiefs because if we all pick the Ravens, that's not that interesting. So
there's certainly a path. I mean, I think they've gotten a lot more creative with their running game. I think they've schemed up ways to get Isaiah Pacheco open rushing lanes to attack downhill. And then the emergence of Rashee Rice, the rookie out of SMU, who's been quite fun. I've really enjoyed him. But again, I can't see it, man. I'm too much of a Lamar fan. I can tell I'm way too biased on this pick. But I've really enjoyed watching this team all year. There's just so much versatility on both sides of the ball. And now we got Dalvin Cook. He's breaking off big runs in playoff games. I really can't believe it. But that's our picks for the AFC Championship. Why don't we go ahead and move it to the other side in the NFC? Lions versus 49ers. Two totally different stories. Sky-high expectations for the 49ers. And then probably the biggest underdog story in the NFL in a while, it feels like, with this Lions team that just a couple years ago was a laughing stock in the NFL. Dan Campbell's completely turned them around. The fan base is in tears winning playoff games at home. They've won 2 playoff games at home. I mean, hey, that's quite the accomplishment. And now they're taking on an absolute juggernaut in the 49ers, who are one of the greatest teams of all time by DVOA from Football Outsiders, which is worth noting. So I just want to talk about the Lions before we start and get into our picks. There's a chance that they can get to the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history and win it. I've just blown away that they got here because Jared Goff has just emerged as an actual like Pro Bowl, borderline All-Pro quarterback at times. When he's on, it's unbelievable, but it's definitely the weapons. I remember criticizing them for their draft picks in Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, and here we are. Did each of those guys have like 10 touches, 10 receptions last week? It's just a juggernaut of an offense. It's the defense that really worries me. Outside of Aiden Hutchinson, there's just too many question marks on that defense. Will, what are your thoughts on this Lions team? Do they even have a shot?
I do want to say one thing, and I don't want to take anything away from the Lions. This team is awesome. Lions fans and Detroit fans, best fan base in sports. I've said it a million times. I would love to see them in the Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to happen. I want to say something. Part of the reason they haven't won a home playoff game in a really long time is they haven't had one. I mean, all their playoff appearances from December 1994 to until this year were all on the road. I mean, last time they were at home was 94. They lost to the Packers. Their previous home playoff game, they won. Their previous home playoff game before that one, they won. And again, credit to the Detroit fans. They create a great place for their team to play. But with the Lions going back on the road, is it going to be the same thing? Probably not. I do think the Lions offense will be able to operate, but I mean, there are more issues with these Niners defense than some might like to admit, but I don't think that they have any opportunity to slow the Niners, especially if Deebo Samuel ends up being healthy. The Lions secondary is just too bad. Kyle Shanahan's so clever and he's a great craftsman with great tools. He just has too many opportunities to make things easy for Brock Purdy, which things are. They are incredibly easy for Brock Purdy. And after shaking off the rust a bit against the Packers, that first half was ugly. Offensively, after not just the bye, but resting everyone week 18, I think the Niners are more in a groove. Again, I'm not going to call it a true blowout. I don't see the Niners trailing in this one.
I'm going to get off the field here for a second for this one, as I usually do for these things. We have a curse versus a good luck charm. Okay. And so the Lions, I don't know if you guys know this, but the curse of Bobby Lane is a thing from like the 1950s. It's like some guy who got traded like after their championship and then like cursed them or whatever. But you could argue that it's a real thing if you believe in those things. So that's already going against the Lions. Then there's the fact that Kristen Juszczyk, I probably butchered that name, who is the wife of Kyle, the fullback on the 49ers. Every time she's made an outfit for a celebrity in the playoffs, those teams are 3-0. Taylor Swift, Olivia Culpo, who's I think engaged to Christian McCaffrey, and then Taylor Lautner. They're 3-0. So I'm just saying if she makes an outfit for this game, it's 49ers all the way. like easy.
Does it count if she makes an outfit for herself? Because she's done that a few times. Can she?
Yeah,
can
she
you
does
be your
that a
own good luck
lot.
charm?
Like I feel I'm gonna count it as like celebrities. Because, like, if she's making it for herself, then she should win every game. But even she took note of it on Instagram, saying she was 3-0 in the playoffs. So, like, she's like the good luck charm in the playoffs for whoever wants to win.
My favorite part about that entire story, first, fullbacks are people too. So just Kyle Juszczyk is our king. And then two is just anytime that anyone tweeted a video of like one of her outfits, Kyle's out there on Twitter going, "My wife made this. Make sure to credit her." Like just the number one supporter of his wife's fashion. I absolutely love it. Go off. That is just an awesome relationship. I love that stuff. There are just too many stars on this 49ers team, and that's what worries me. But, and that's a big but, I think there are a few downfalls of this team. Outside of Trent Williams, that offensive line stinks. It is bad. And Aiden Hutchinson going up against those guys, I mean, he's pretty dang good. It could be interesting. I mean, the Packers' defensive line isn't anything to sneeze about outside of Kenny Clark. They eviscerated that offensive line all game. Number two, Ambry Thomas in the secondary of San Francisco. If you pick on him, he's going to commit DPI or he's going to give you an open catch. If you get him lined up on the right receivers and the Lions have plenty of weapons they can attack with him, does worry me. And then number three, and this is probably my hottest take, Brock Purdy's an absolute fraud. It drives me insane that he got compared to Joe Montana after one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever seen in a playoff game. But he made a couple throws at the end when it counted and had 2 interceptions that should have been caught, and it's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. And he just keeps getting away with it. I've watched the entire season. He gets away with so many dropped interceptions. At some point, it's going to come back to bite him in the butt. I don't think he's very good. And I think that's why I may not be taking the Lions to win, but I think they're going to cover. And I think it's going to be closer than people think.
This Purdy situation is hilarious because the Niners are doing too well to ever look for a replacement, especially at his price point. But I think he's not just overrated. I do think he's outright not good. No one has an easier job than him. Like his EPA gained from plays on throws behind the line of scrimmage, they dwarf every single other quarterback combined. Like it's ridiculous. Kyle Shanahan's great. Their weapons are great. O-line, little shaky, but you've still got a great blindside tackle in Trent. Things are way too easy for Purdy. I think the gap between these teams otherwise is big enough that it's going to be okay. And the Niners are going to survive, especially at home. But if we do get to see this team play the Ravens or even the Chiefs, I think we're going to get to see a full exposition of Brock Purdy, which the Packers, frankly, were not good enough defensively to do, even though he kind of gave it to them.
No. I don't love Joe Barry. I hope they move on from him this year. But I thought he game planned really well for that team in the rain until the very end. I actually was kind of impressed with how they handled that offense. Losing Deebo Samuel certainly played a major factor in that.
I mean, now I think I have to pick the 49ers, but now I don't want them because of the Purdy situation. Like, I don't want to watch a bunch of checkdowns in the Super Bowl, right? I'll take the 49ers, though. Curse with Bobby Lane, baby.
All right, guys. We only got 2 games to choose from for Take the Over. Patrick, you cannot take anything Iowa-related, unfortunately.
Caitlin Clark over 0.5 flops.
We can talk about that in a second. I'm just going to go over 44.5 for Chiefs-Ravens. I don't know what the weather's like in that situation or anything like that. I know the defenses are both pretty good, but we can see a blowout by either side. I always think with good defenses can lead to good field position, and these offenses are at least explosive enough to generate some points, so give me the over in that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, on paper, I agree, but 46 degrees, light rain, 14 to 20 mile an hour wind, I just don't love it. And I don't trust the Chiefs offense against the Ravens defense. So I'm going to go with the line. I'm not saying take the under at all, but I think the Lions Niners is a better play. We're getting decent weather, better than the anomalous West Coast weather we got last week. Both offenses are very capable. Both are probably top 5, whereas the Lions defense is not good against the pass, and the Niners defense, it's been spotty. So I do think we're looking at a number of 50.5. Do I think both of these teams get into the 20s and one of them gets even further? Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah,
I have the Chiefs Ravens at 44.5. But honestly, I kind of want to go back and see who's been right and wrong the most, because I have a feeling I've been wrong. So don't take my advice.
Oh man. All right. Those are our betting picks. Fade us. Go with us. However you want to go about it, it's your money. Let's move on. Wrap up with, did you see this? Patrick mentioned mine earlier, but the Caitlin Clark flop has been getting a lot of attention. We're flopping quotes. After that upset loss against Ohio State, fans rush in the court, bumps into Caitlin Clark. She flails. She falls to the ground. All that. And I really don't care about the flopping, guys. What drives me nuts is that I have to see on Twitter like thousands of people analyzing different camera angles about whether or not one of the greatest athletes in the country right now flopped after she was upset that she got bumped by a fan in an upset loss. Who cares? Who gives a crap?
The fans.
I don't care. I want to watch her make all kinds of highlight plays. We don't need to make this a talking point about her legacy or whether or not she's actually a good person. Like, why does this happen with female athletes? I don't care. Watch her play basketball. I don't care about the flop. She's Steph Curry in women's basketball. I can't take my eyes off of games when they're on TV. And I'm not usually like, I'll be honest, maybe in my younger, more immature days, I was a little more snarky about women's basketball. It's completely changed, guys. If you have not watched women's college basketball in the modern era, it is one of the most entertaining products in sports. And I really genuinely believe that. Athletes like Caitlin Clark are making the game way more fun. I cannot wait to see her go pro next year, go to the Indiana Fever, and we're going to light it up. I'm going to go to WNBA games. I can't wait. That's just my rant on Caitlin Clark. Stop analyzing the flop. I don't care.
I think this is actually really good for women's college basketball. Like, we need controversy. We need reasons to like tune in. Look at the Angel Reese situation with LSU last year. And that was like the most watched women's college basketball game ever. Like, I think the fact that she can hit step back threes from the logo is really awesome. That's why people tune in. That's why people show up to the games. But you also need this stuff. This makes it feel like it's like the NBA. Like, we're dissecting flops, from fans. That is insane. And I agree, like, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it's like, it's awesome to see people talking about stupid crap like this.
Fair.
Now you gotta be like me and not watch women basketball, not because it's women, but because regular season college basketball does not draw you in.
That's period. A good point. That's a good point.
But I'm excited. I like the tournament. I'm excited to see Caitlin make another push to win the tournament. I mean, obviously, tough way to go out last year, and I definitely don't care. If she was the one hurting a fan, that's one thing, but she's flopping, not to pull a foul, but just like after a game. Like, what are we talking about here? You couldn't pay me to get upset at her for that. I am excited to see what she does to wrap up her career, though.
Well, some people say she extended her arms. I don't know. That's the people which is still upset.
The only thing I'm monitoring is whether or not she goes pro. Please don't come back to Iowa. I don't know if I need to make an NIL collective for the WNBA, but please come to Indiana.
Well, I was going to maybe talk about the Jason Kelsey situation, but we kind of touched on that earlier.
No, go for it.
By the way, speaking of the perception of women in sports, Taylor Swift just kind of exists and has a camera put on her face every once in a while, and people say it's ruining the product, as if the Chiefs wide receivers group, the refs' treatment of the Chiefs, and the announcers' treatment of the Chiefs wasn't already ruining the Chiefs viewing product. Meanwhile, Jason Kelsey goes full Beercules, rips his shirt off, carrying children around the stands, and people are like, this is the best. Just to be clear, I'm not criticizing Jason. I think it's the best too. But you don't need to chill on the Taylor ruining the game situation. It's really not that hard to just not care or enjoy it, one or the other. But I did love the Jason Kelsey situation. He's so retired. He's living his best life. He's giving his lineman representation, sexiest men alive representation. As he was a finalist nominee for that honor. It was just fun to see. The other thing I wanted to bring up was John Harbaugh dancing in the locker room. If you're a fan of the show Ted Lasso, it gave the exact same vibes of the first scene you see Ted, where he's dancing with his Wichita State team in the locker room. John Harbaugh, same situation. Love that family. Love the
caucasity was just off the charts on that dance move, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I was gonna say about the Kelsey stuff. Like, okay, can you imagine if it was Taylor Swift who did that? Like, she was just like in a sports bra, like chugging beers, going down into the stadium, like what people would have thought. Bet you the conversations would have been different. But also the fact that he had like these like $5 Russell sweatpants on, and like he just looks like the most normal, like big guy. Like he's just like a guy's guy.
Dude, they're media industry plants. Everyone knows that. They just aren't. Everyone forgets that they're just incredibly good football players.
The script writers for this one, man, the script writers are on
Killed it,
man.
Crushed it. Patrick, what do you got?
So I wanted to talk about the Josh Allen bazooka throw that Stephon Diggs didn't catch. Because I've seen this everywhere, but I wanted to, instead of getting into like, Diggs and how disappointing he was in that or whatever, I wanted to ask, like, does Josh Allen have like the biggest arm in NFL history? Because that thing was like launched 70 something yards in the air. And if it's not him, who is it? John Elway, Aaron Rodgers, like that. I mean, that throw was insane.
It's probably Favre or Stafford for my money, and both of which answers Tyler's going to love as a Georgia fan and a Packers fan. But the longest throw ever in an NFL game, not longest completion, just the longest a ball has traveled in game, that would be Baker Mayfield. So he threw a rip for the Browns. It went Hail Mary went way through the end zone, ran someone into a goalpost. Look it up. Baker, longest throw ever. Dude has a cannon, and he doesn't get credit for it because he's like 6 feet flat. But Baker's got a nuke. Lamar, by the way.
I was going to say Lamar.
Can air it out. It's funny. We talk about Mahomes as a rocket arm and Lamar as an athlete. Mahomes can move, and Lamar can chuck. So I'd love to see each one of them kind of play each other's games this weekend.
The one that makes me sad in this is I don't know if we'll ever get to know if Anthony Richardson would have had the strongest arm in the NFL after his shoulder injury. Because I don't know if I think that guy's about to start throwing finally, and that injury happened in like October. Yeah. Really bums me out. I really hope he's able to keep playing. Patrick, I know you're a Gators fan too, so you're rooting for him.
I was gonna say I saw it. Sometimes I feel like he didn't really know where it was going, but he could chuck it.
Honestly, the flashes were there early in the season too, but there are a lot of fun names on that list. I think Allen is actually up there near the top. He might be the top to me. Just some of those throws. Another underrated one, Justin Herbert. I really do think that guy can absolutely sling it. There are some throws, and it may not be. It's just like he can throw a deep ball without loft, and it hurts your brain. You're like, it looks like it never elevated, and it went 50 yards downfield.
Yeah, I think the fact with that Josh Allen one too is like the camera kind of had to like pan out almost, and like to really like see it because it just, it's so far and so high. But you're right about Herbert. Like those are just bullets.
Yeah. Actually, we did just update our top 11 strongest arms in NFL history article on FanBuzz, so make sure you take that out. But that's going to do it for today's episode. We really hope you guys have been enjoying season 2 of the podcast. We'll be back again next week. Make sure that you like, subscribe, hit follow, get notifications, all of that on wherever you're listening to this episode. Don't forget to check out our newsletter as well. You can actually sign up for that in the description of the episode below. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching.
No disrespect to Kalen. He's actually been dealt a pretty tough hand. Not just the expectations, but you've got recruits decommitting. Right? With the portal, you can lose your current roster and everything's eroding.
I don't think there was a right hire to replace Saban.